Hello, everyone. Hello, Tom. Hello, Ellie. Spoiler alert. Before we go any further, we will be discussing the specifics of the plot for episode 6 of season 3 of Strange New Worlds, The Sehlat Who Ate Its Tail. You have been warned, there will be spoilers ahead. Okay, cool. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's What the Hell Just Happened video on Strange New Worlds Season 3. We are more than halfway through the season.
Woo!
Weird times. Again, we're approaching that. Everybody, we've just had loads of Star Trek, and Star Trek is gone.
Yeah,
we're in that
bit.
phase in Doctor Who at the moment. It was also exciting, and now it's like, what is a Doctor Who? Doctor what?
Yeah, it was like, what's happening? What's happening? But we are still very much in the thick of it. So let's jump straight in. Ellie, I'm going to go to you first. The Sehlat Who Ate Its Tail. What did you think?
I really, really liked this episode. And I feel like I say that for every episode, but then give a barrage of reasons why I didn't like the episode. But actually, this episode, for me, is the first one of the season that has felt like Star Trek and not some sort of romantic drama. In fact, there was not a single scene that focused on a relationship in this episode, and for that, it already gets a lot of points. There was one moment where I was a bit concerned there was going to be, when you had La'an, Spock, entering the bridge, there's Kirk. We had a little bit of an awkward look between everyone. I was like, oh, don't go there. We do not need another triangle here. Please don't. They didn't. It was okay. I was concerned for a second. But I really loved this episode. Before we started recording, I'm going to point this out so everyone doesn't go, why is she talking so much? Decided I'm not going to just try and talk around my points and then eventually get to my points. I'm just going to say all the things I think about this episode right now instead of coming back to it later. So there was one thing in this episode that I wasn't quite sold by. So I'm going to get that bit out of the way first. And I think Sean in particular is going to be proud of me for this one because it involves the ships. But I didn't enjoy the fact that they just reused the Enterprise sets for the Farragut. So it was just like they're on the same ship. I like it when you can tell the difference between what ships people are on. And in that trailer where we saw Kirk stepping towards the captain's chair, and we all got, this is the moment he's going to step into the captain's chair of the Enterprise. It wasn't the Enterprise, they just reused the same set. It was actually the Farragut. And yes, it was significant that he was taking the captain's chair, but it wasn't as significant as the trailer led us to believe it was. It was just a reused set. And if it wasn't for who was in the scene and the exterior shot that we got every time we jumped from ship to ship, you wouldn't be able to tell which ship they were on, because it's the same ship. And I was like, I get why, budget, time, but it just felt a little bit lazy to me that you just reused the same sets for both ships, which are not even the same class of ship, so they should look different.
Look at her go.
I know. I know.
Baby, all grown up.
Okay, so that's the thing I didn't like. It was just a little bit like that. But it wasn't enough to make me dislike the episode overall. I liked that we got to see the beginnings of the original series crew coming together, starting to see those relationships develop so that we kind of understand why it is that these were the people that became Kirk's crew later down the line. It was obviously a very conscious decision to have those crew members as the away team, but I wasn't mad about that. I liked that because it shows the beginning of that relationship. But then equally, when you go over to the Enterprise, I liked that we had different pairings of characters that you don't often see together. Like, usually there's certain pairings that you always see, like Chapel's always with Mbenga, but like there's medical things, or you might have Pike and Mbenga, but you had La'an and Pike, which I don't feel like is a pairing that you often see just the two of them together. In an ensemble, yes, but that was quite a nice pairing. And then equally you've got Pelia, Ortegas and Mbenga in a scene. And again, they're not three characters that often have scenes together unless it's an ensemble scene. So I really liked that it got mixed up a little bit and we started to see other interactions with characters. And that made the Enterprise scenes just as interesting as the scenes on the Farragut with the original series ensemble. So I really, really liked that. But yeah, I think for me the biggest thing was that this felt like a Star Trek episode. There was like a moral thing at the end, very much Star Trek, a good twist, and there wasn't any romance drama. And that is my main points for this episode. Oh, I loved Pelia's quarters. They were fun. I'd love to just dig around in all that stuff. And I wrote down a quote because I thought it was very telling and again fits with that kind of Star Trek giving kind of morals. Empathy isn't conditional, it's either given or it isn't. And I felt like, yes, Star Trek finally getting back to giving us like real life lessons as opposed to just relationship drama. Tom.
Hey, Tom, yeah.
It is me, everybody, the Grinch who stole Star Trek. I am back. Only joking, I loved the episode.
Yay!
Yay! Yes. Basically, agree with pretty much everything you said. It did feel like Star Trek again in the way that I like it. Again, the morals, the lessons, the twists, the way you think it's going to be this thing and then it's this thing and blah, blah, blah. Enjoyed all that. Loved seeing what we have of the original crew together. Yes, it was a little on the nose. I've complained about on the nose stuff so far. This, for me, on the nose stuff works because this is a show that is, this is a rose-tinted glasses show. You get excited when you see Scotty is now in the show. You get excited when you see these characters interact with each other. We are doing that on purpose. So if we don't have these moments like this, then it's like, well, what's the point of this show? Surely that's what we're doing. So those things worked for me really well in this episode, and I got excited. And I like the original series. I like the original series films. I don't have a connection to them as I do, say, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, etc. But I did have that giddy little feeling of they're all together and Spock's going to go help him because Spock and I know that what their relationship's going to be like in the future. And oh boy, you guys don't even know what you're going to go through. And you're going to die and then you're going to come back and then this is going to, and it was just really fun. And not only that, but like you said, the episode itself, outside of that stuff, was exciting. It was interesting. It felt like an original series episode. You have this giant ship that's doing this crazy thing. Reminded me of the big thing from the original series, the big like ice cream cone. What's that called, Sean?
The Doomsday Machine.
Yeah, it reminded me of that. It did look a little bit like a robot from Robot Wars, which is a British show. Americans have their own version. When people ride the little robots and they fight each other. Did it look a little bit like that? It was a little bit silly. I'm fine with that. That's, to me, Star Trek is a bit silly sometimes. That works. Enjoyed all that. Did I have any gripes? Yes. A few little things. A really, really minor thing, and again, I think this is just because of my rose-tinted glasses when it comes to this stuff, is that I enjoyed the original series together so much, the original series characters so much, that when it went back to, say, like Pike and that lot, and basically all the characters that we're not going to see in the original series, I cared slightly less. I was like, this is still good, but I'm like a couple of percentage less interested in this. But saying that, like you said, I think Laan and Pike worked really well as a pairing. They kind of complement each other. They're very similar. And it was fun to see them doing something serious. Like Strange New Worlds isn't always a serious show, but I think when it does serious stuff, it can do it well. And I think it tries to avoid it when it can, because it's not what it's trying to do. But like I said, I think go for it. Like give us this serious stuff. Like, you are serious characters that have been through serious things. How many times can I say serious, Ellie? That's the thing with this episode. It gets me excited. I like the twists. I like the very Doctor Who aliens that come in like this and do these things, and then turns out they're not aliens. What are they, everybody? Spoilers. Humans.
Humans.
I thought, are these the Borg for a while? And maybe they still are the Borg? Some sort of variation. We'll get onto that in a minute. But yes, excited. Also, agreed with you, Ellie, about the ships. The just using the same set was very boring and confusing. Surely they have some other set somewhere that they can make look a little bit different and use that as the other ship, but who knows. And Sean, you might not like this because I know that you have a lot of love for Ortegas. My only little real gripe about this episode is that because I liked how much the characters were, for me, acting as Starfleet officers should, when Ortegas comes into a scene and makes quippy lines and talks to a senior officer in a way that I don't personally feel like they should speak to them, it makes me go, you guys don't know what you're doing with this character. You're really trying to be like, this is the funny character. This is, Spider-Man who makes these little jokes every once in a while. But to me, it just sort of renders them as a bit one note. That's my only gripe. It's not with Ortegas, it's the writing of Ortegas.
Do you know, it's funny you say that because I have noticed a lot in this show in particular, a lot of first name usage between characters. And it's not that I don't want them to do that because you want them to feel like they're close with each other and they are friends. But I feel like they often forget that, like, for example, in Voyager, it took a lot for Sage Kote to say Catherine. And it was only him that ever called Janeway by her first name.
Yeah.
And a lot of the characters were either called by their surname or by their rank. And I think in this, it's good that they have that friendship and they are close. But considering, like you say, there are senior officers here and the way they interact with each other sometimes removes that kind of structure that they're supposed to be, this is my boss and they are in charge. And that level of kind of respect that is kind of missing from a lot of these characters.
You definitely say in TNG, you know that Riker and Picard are very friendly and can make jokes to each other, at each other, but there's a clear respect of like, I'm number one, you're the captain, and etc. These are our places. And then you had a line, for example, where number one is basically asking, can we do this thing to Ortegas? And Ortegas is like, yeah, if you want to die, and everyone dies and explodes. It's like, why are you talking to your senior officer like that? It's like, why don't you just give the answer instead of... There's stuff like that I'm not so happy with. Anyway, Seán Ferrick, everybody.
Hey!
Hey! Well done. Also, I love getting an applause whenever I'm introduced. It's just wonderful. Yeah. When I'm introduced into court, we'll see if I get an applause like that. So I enjoyed this episode. I did. This episode was Star Trek Year 1, the pilot.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how I feel about that right now. Because I think back to when season 2 of Star Trek Picard was airing, and they released that trailer for season 3 that basically told everyone, stop caring about season 2 because season 3 is the next generation's next season.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not as egregious here, but this is definitely, see what's coming? Yeah. And so that is one thing. So I really enjoyed the pairing, seeing everyone together. I was a bit like, what show are we watching? Which I got from the trailer. We talked about this when we did the trailer breakdown before, which was, is this Kirk's show? Or is this Pike's show? What show are we watching? So that is one reaction I genuinely had while watching this, and especially with it's not news because it's not been greenlit, but Akiva and Henry Alonso Myers at SDCC talking about how they have an idea for a bridging show between Stranger Worlds and the original series that they would... I don't know whether there was like just on the spot went, oh, what about Star Trek Year 1? Talking about Kirk's first missions as commander. And I have feelings about that. But, so we're going to put that aside, because I thought everyone's very good in this. I did enjoy the threat. I mean, did we all get Pac-led clump ship from the Robot Wars vessel? Why does it have a mouth?
Yeah, doesn't make sense. But, I mean, me and you, Sean, definitely have different opinions on ships that we like and dislike in Star Trek, so it makes sense that I'm like, this is dumb, I love it, and you're like, this is dumb.
It did feel like a Doctor Who ship. It felt like something you might have more in that, which is maybe aimed at a younger audience, and so the mouth maybe did feel like a little bit of a kind of on the nose thing, but I mean, I wasn't mad about it.
Yeah, like that's great. It hardly spoiled the episode or anything for me. I was really concerned for a second that Tom, you mentioned the Doomsday Machine. It's like, oh, please don't do that, please, and
Yeah.
they didn't. So,
Yeah, me too.
right,
I was like, don't
that
just do that again, because what's the point?
I also had a fear that it was going to be another known enemy. And I was like, it's
Yeah.
great to have returning enemies and aliens and things, but we've done that. We've had the Gorn, we've had the whole Trelane Q situation. I don't want Strange New Worlds to just be let's rehash all the things we've already done and make them relevant now. So
Yes,
that's why I was
I
really
completely
glad
agree.
with the twist that we had, because when La'an started to kind of recognise what it was in a way, I was like, oh, here we go. We're going to have another, oh, it's them, and all the audience are going to go, ah, that's who it was. But I liked that it wasn't that, and there was still a twist. And the twist, I would say, I didn't see it coming, but I maybe saw it coming just before it came. Just as it was, as they were getting around the corner, there was a lot of red blood, and I was like, maybe they're human. And then obviously that's where it went, and I was like, but I didn't see it coming right from the offset, which is good.
Yeah, and I like even the reveal of the face. It's like, no, they weren't going to go down genetic engineering, or they passed through a radiation field that warped all of them. It's like, nope, they just took a different path. And that was good. Like I liked that. I think it was a muddled episode, not in a bad way. I didn't by no means did I not enjoy this episode. I really did. I think they sort of left the big message for the final act, which makes it a little bit lopsided, because then we had all this stuff with Kirk figuring out command, and which is fine. I enjoy that. I think Paul Wesley's very good in this. I like that even younger Scotty was a bit like, I do not have time for your bullshit. So that I enjoyed. Also, is this the first vibrator joke in all of Star Trek?
Yes.
That felt a little bit unnecessary, I'm not going to lie.
Ortegas, what do we do with that? Let's do a vibrator joke. It's and I don't want to be like, that's not what Star Trek is, but it felt so like jarring. It's like, well, they've never mentioned anything like this ever, other than like Riker's O face when he played the game in TNG. But other than that, like I didn't understand why they did that.
It was, it's like, I on the one hand, glad to see people are still staying healthy in the 23rd century. Not sure if any of this is making the edit, but Pelia's quarters made me laugh. Pelia's quarters in general, I loved. She's got the Warhol print
Of her.
and
Yeah.
that was funny. And I like, and there's enough precedent set that Pelia has a collection of phones. Why wouldn't she?
And
So
I like that she had more to
me-
do. She had more to do in this episode. I think in the first episode, I was like, oh, it's good that her and Scotty are working together and bouncing off each other. And then every episode since then has been it's either a Pelia episode or a Scotty episode, or not a lot going on. Whereas this episode, they both had jobs to do,
Yes.
and Pelia felt more relevant for a change.
And it was specifically using her knowledge of being a lifeless on. Now there is one thing. She comes around the corner and Pike puts his phaser down. You don't get to live to 5,000 years old by getting shot all of the time. Pelly, you don't have time for this.
Yeah.
Nobody has time. And it goes to what you were saying, Tom, about the quips. It's like, we don't have time for this. Like, are we taking this seriously or are we not? You could do the comedy of having the phones. Like, that can still work in a serious episode. But it's like it is very much alluded that these just destroyed a planet.
Yeah.
The stakes are high.
Yeah. The stakes are high. The situations can be funny, but in my eyes, I don't see how there's like half the officers would have a disciplinary by now of just like, you can't speak to me like that. You can't be making jokes when we're trying to do something very important. I nearly just shot you. Yeah, it's that stuff, which I think was a lot worse in Strange New Worlds, and it's getting better at it. It's still doing it from time to time, which is a shame. So going back to the phone jokes, just a little thing, but I sometimes they do this in Star Trek that I find a little bit silly. How do they not know this is a phone? Like, I know they're very much in the
How
future,
long ago are things?
but it's like we all went to school. We know the development of phones. I don't look at like an old phone like this and go, What is that? Is it like, surely they would understand.
Especially when their communicators look like a phone.
Yeah.
It's a flip phone. It's
Yeah,
the
it's
Motorola
basically-
Razr, like, yeah.
It's stuff like that can get on my nerves. It's like it's always like, I'm playing the classical music from the 2022, and it's just like, okay.
Like,
Whatever.
I do get, like, there's definitely precedent in, I think, Voyager specifically, about not knowing what television is. And there's jokes in there. So I did like the gag of John Logie Baird. And because, yeah, it's like, yeah, Scottish pride, of course I would know, Scottish inventor, like that kind of stuff works. And that, I suppose, then does rely on the fact that everyone's kind of forgotten what television is. But yeah, like, we may not be consuming television in the 23rd century, but Ellie, as you say, we literally use communicators.
Yeah.
So, like, things like that, it's like the gag at the expense of the logic.
Yeah, that stuff.
And
Strange.
I'm trying to play, because it doesn't sound like it. I did enjoy this episode. I thought overall it looked great. I like that we got a bit more time. I could say, listen, there's precedent in Star Trek for using the same set, but also I get what you're saying, Ellie, about, like, they just, okay, film the Enterprise bit, everybody leave. We're doing the Farragut bit,
Yeah.
everybody leave.
You could
I
reuse the
get it.
set, but you could make it look different somehow. You could
Yeah.
change the color scheme or something. Like, they've done that before. Just change up something so that it's obvious which ship is which, other than this one's really banged up and this one isn't. It's literally the exact same.
Yeah. and
Change it up slightly.
It's funny because I'm thinking of things like Wrath of Khan. It's the same set. There's not the whole kind of joke about, Ricardo Montalban and William Shatner never share a scene together, because all of the Reliant Bridge scenes, it's the Enterprise Bridge, and same thing. Like, so there is definitely precedent. I think, for
they still
example,
look different.
Nemesis. But I think they still do look a bit different. And Nemesis, like, all of the scenes, and there's not many of them, to be fair, because it's all through a view screen, but the Valdor Bridge is the Enterprise E Bridge, but, just enough kind of changes that when you're looking at it through the view screen, it's like, oh no, that's a Romulan bridge. Anyway, but yeah, because we spend so much time on the Farragut bridge, it just becomes that bit more obvious.
But
Um,
the whole episode is just those two ships, basically.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Which
yeah,
is
but
why
you
it
don't really-
feels like they should be more distinguishable from each other.
Yeah.
We were joking just before recording that, the joke of, again, sorry, Wrath of Khan, Enterprise, nacelles are on top, Reliant, nacelles are underneath. And it's a bit kind of the same with Enterprise and the Farragut. It's like, how do you tell them about, well, Enterprise nacelles up. So that kind of, like, I kind of like that through line of there being, it's like the Farragut is almost like a variation on the Miranda class. I like the TOS crew together. I wasn't entirely sold on things like the conversation of how to remove Kirk from command if needs be. I was like, was that necessary? Like, you could show him in his first command without having a literal conversation of how to get rid of him.
Yeah. There was definitely, bits that were sort of like too extreme to the point of, like, trying to get across what's going on. And that's the weird thing, is that there's lots of stuff in this that I don't particularly like, but I think, say if we compare this to episode 4, the stuff that I
Your
didn't
favorite
like,
episode.
yeah, the stuff that I didn't like overrides any of the other things, I think, to the point where they're too much to make anything else work for me. Where for this episode, the stuff that I didn't like, smaller in regards of the overall episode. So it's just like, what's more important to you in this episode? Where for me, the stuff I liked was more important than the stuff I didn't like. I want to ask what we thought of the humans at the end being the bad guy. Was that interesting? I think, like you said, like, I didn't really know what they were. I wasn't really thinking about it until the end. And then probably a minute before, I was like, oh, they're probably humans. Because, like, again, there was a point where I was like, oh, maybe these are sort of some very early version of the Borg that are over here for some reason. And it's, like, really industrial that they're just stripping and taking. Because these are very Borg-like people. They're taking things and using it for their own, uses. And then using it for your own uses. I write books, everybody. And then I was like, okay, who actually is this going to be? Okay, it's humans. And the reason it being humans and the story around that, I think was interesting. But I think there was a part of me that was like, okay, fine, it's humans. It might have been interesting to do something else.
I think I liked it, because I do like stories that tend to go like, there but for the grace of. I do like that kind of thing, and I like that this sort of threw in. There's like, it's definitely border worlds, because obviously the next question is, how have they not run into Starfleet? But this is an earlier version of Starfleet. The Federation isn't quite as expansive as we know it will get to. Tiny little bit like, kind of like, there is, the word scavenger immediately reminds La'an of, it must be this ship that I heard about as I was a kid, and even the gun is like, okay, listen, that's because you only have X amount of minutes for the runtime. Yeah. That is why. So I'm vaguely forgiving of that. I did like the gut punch, because it does, and they go for it. It's 7,000 people, and I like that they take a moment to have between Kirk and Pike, where Kirk says, "I didn't look at them as people. They were just the enemy. I acted," and I like that exchange. And Pike saying, "Part of command is learning to live with the consequences of your decisions." So that is tick, big, blue tick for me there, and I like seeing Kirk. I like seeing Kirk grow. Like, for my struggle with this is a backdoor pilot. But if I put that aside, like, everyone's very good in it, and I do like the crew working together, particularly him and Scotty. I do like that. And Spock being again the voice of reason, as we know he will be for Kirk for so long. All of that stuff worked for me. I did like that once the ship is destroyed, it is destroyed. Once it's destroyed and they're sifting through the wreckage, it's sort of blinky to miss it, but it definitely looks like, Ellie, you'll love this because it's about ships. It looks like it's the head of the ring ship. Not the ring ship Enterprise, obviously, but the ring ship that was an original design of the Enterprise. We would have seen it that design most recently in Lower Decks, Fisher Quest.
Right.
And it's just the head of it. So it's one of those kind of like, if you know, but we're not going to get hung up on it kind of moments, which is really cool. I liked that just as a sort of an Easter egg there. Even if I didn't like the overall ship design, but this, I don't like this because it's very Narada to me. It makes no sense. And once you go inside and everything is, I know you like the Narada. I know you. And also it's, I don't know whether it's a gag or something, but there are two people flying around space. It's either the Federation or the Klingons. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like, there's another ship in there. It's the Klingons.
Who do you know? Oh, it's Klingons, yeah.
Yeah. So like, again, but that to me feels almost like more of a sort of a wink and a nudge, because I can't do the Romulans because we haven't technically met them yet, which is, again, that's gas with me. So overall, look, I enjoyed a lot. I did enjoy it, and in fact, when it gets to the ranking, you may be surprised where it goes. Bottom, no. But there was a lot to like in this. I think the comedy didn't marry well with the serious sides of the episode. I think it was too jarring. A lot of that, sadly, goes toward Pelia. Because I think it's just like we were saying. Okay, so the ship has been trapped, the ship has been boarded, the ship has been punctured, we have time for gags and quips.
Yeah. And again, I think it comes down to, well, we have all these characters, these are their traits. These two characters are like the funny ones, so that's what we do with them. And it's just not as interesting as anything else, and it's a bit jarring. I would personally argue that it's always jarring, but that's just me. I do want to just quickly, before we sort of get to the rankings, that look at some things you said maybe from a different angle of, again, I agree with what you said about it being a backdoor show and backdoor episode, and they did that with season 2 of Picard, and before it even finished, they announced blah blah blah, which, yes, is a bit lame. I hate season 2 of Picard, so I didn't care that much, but just as, give it a little time till it ends and then talk about it. I would argue that this, to me, feels more like what they did in Discovery season 2, where they were Strange New Worlds.
I hear you.
Backdoor episodes of guys, do you like this? Oh, you do? Okay, well, let's make a show. And it did feel a bit like that to me. And also, we've got to start putting these people together at some point because that's where the show is leading. So it's a nice way of doing it. And in terms of Pike, is this a Pike show or a Kirk show? I think Strange New Worlds definitely started off season 1 as this is a Pike show. I think it's been losing that over time. Anyway, I think it's been focusing more on this is just this Enterprise show, and we're going to focus on these characters, and Pike. Sometimes Pike is hardly in it and hardly makes any difference.
It's more the Spock show, to be honest.
It is more the Spock show, a lot of the time, I think, as it goes on. But again, Spock is a very interesting character to write, and we are setting up relationships that involve these people. I do think we know that in the future Spock is going to run away with Pike in his chair and, get in lots of trouble. That happens because of Spock's relationship with Pike. And they've established a lot of that. I think they need to make sure they continue establishing their relationship throughout this show.
Stop putting him with La'an, Chapel. Right, the actual relationship that anyone's interested in is the one between Pike and Spock and Kirk and Spock.
Yeah, those are the things we want to see.
Yeah.
And they need to be done well. And then the other thing is, I've said this before, I'm kind of unsure of how I feel about Pike in this show. Sometimes I think he's very interesting. They portray him as a very good leader. Other times I feel like he's a bit wishy-washy, a bit like they don't really know what to do with him. He sort of flips between episodes from being like fun and exciting and very serious and brooding and etc. and awkward sometimes as well. I much prefer Pike, similar to what they did in Star Trek 09 and onwards. Pike as that mentor role, I think, is really good. And having Kirk at this stage is a more interesting person to focus on, and Pike as a mentor is more interesting. Like, he hears this person has been through a lot and can come to someone and go, hey, this is what it's like, this is what you need to do. Where just him in the role as captain is maybe slightly less interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. The only other storyline he really has at the moment is his relationship with Batel, and we all know that. I'm not against having relationships in shows. I just feel like it's just been so overdone this season that even that I'm not interested in anymore, because there's just so many of them going on. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Sean.
That is grand. I think we're going to get to the ranking now in a second. Favorite thing from the episode. We'll go across the board. The same order. Ellie, we'll go with you first.
Oh, but I've got to think of it.
Favorite thing. Okay, I'll tell you what.
Okay, no,
we'll
I think I've got one. I might be cheating slightly, but my favorite thing about this episode is that it was a Star Trek episode and not a romance drama episode. There was no romance in this episode.
Cool. Fair. Tom,
it's what I've moaned
thing?
about in every other video for every other episode.
That would be mine. I'm not going to choose it just because Ellie's also chosen it. The more about it feeling like a Star Trek episode, or at least what I look for in a Star Trek episode. That when you're watching Star Trek and you're watching an episode and you're just like, I'm so locked in. Like, that's what I had with this episode, and I've not had that for this season so far. But I'm going to say my favourite bit was actually there was this moment. They did these moments a few times, a lot more ham-fisted, which again I kind of forgave. But this one, it just showed Spock looking through that little viewfinder thing that he looks at. And then it cut back to Kirk in his chair, and I went, I feel so safe and warm in this Star Trek glow. That just made me really happy.
Oh, really? That's really nice. And I think my favourite part of the episode is the TOS crew working together. Look, I'd say the things I didn't like, put that aside. I really like who they've cast and how well they're working together. So I really enjoyed that element of it. I think Martin Quinn as Scotty, I keep singing his praises because I love him so much in this season, but particularly on how much he's just pushing back. Like, he's, the whole I'm giving her all she's got, you need to work miracles, like all of that element. I realize he doesn't say, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And
bomb out the window.
And Kirk going, I don't know, I don't have an answer, and kind of just walks off, like things like that. It's like, yes, he's very human.
Yeah, that was very.
I did enjoy that.
That was a very relatable moment for me to be like, guys, I'm a bit overstimulated. I'm leaving the room.
I'm just gonna go and play chess.
And the fact that it's Spock who goes out with it. So there's so much, for long-term fans. And I think Kirk and Spock are so ingrained in pop culture that having any scene between the two of them is usually good as well. So yeah, so lots to like in this one. Shall we go to our ranking? And I will come to you first, Tom.
So my scores are this episode, the Sehlat. Sehlat. I always
also nice animated series nod. Don't think I don't see you. Strange New Worlds nodding to the animated series.
I swear we've always pronounced it Sehlat on this channel.
Well, you are wrong.
Okay. I'm going to call it the Sehlat anyway. Screw you. Number one is this episode 6, the Sehlat Who Ate Its Tail. Enjoyed it for the reasons I've just explained. Number 2 is 5, Through the Lens of Time. Number 3 is 2, Wedding Bell Blues. Number 4 is 1, Hegemony, Part 2. Number 5 is 3, Shuttle to Kenfori. And number 6 is 4, A Space Adventure Hour.
Cool, thank you. Ellie, what are your rankings?
Well, it seems Tom and I are back in agreement, because at number 1 I have this episode, The Sehlat Who Ate Its Tail. Number 2 I have A Space Adventure Hour. That's where our disagreement is. Yeah. Number 3 is Wedding Bell Blues. Number 4 is Hegemony Part 2. Number 5 is Through the Lens of Time. And number 6 is Shuttle to Kenfori.
Okie dokie. And then my ranking is number 1, Wedding Bell Blues. Number 2, The Sehlat Who Ate Its Tail.
Wow.
Number 3, Shuttle to Kenfori. Number 4, Through the Lens of Time. Number 5, Hegemony Part 2. And number 6, this is getting harder to go along. Yeah. And number 6 is A Space Adventure Hour.
I like that we're all different. It's like we're similar, but like it's not just like, oh, this is clearly this one. We all have our own tastes and our own opinions when it comes to this, which is quite fun.
For sure. And to those comments who said, you're all being too critical, we see you. Moving on. I
only had one criticism for this episode, and it was minor, so doing better.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone. Obviously, the ups and downs will be out later on today, so keep an eye out for that, where I will monologue at you for about 40 minutes or so. So I hope you enjoy that. Yeah, I know. I'm just like, hey, how's it going? Do you remember when we did the retro ups and downs and it was about an hour 15?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
But folks, thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate the support you're showing this series on the channel. Thank you. Thank you, everyone who is picking up merch as well. We see you, and you are awesome. Thank you to everyone who came up to me at Vegas last week. It was so much fun. Yous are also awesome, and you made me feel very, very special. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone who attended the panel. You are awesome. You can follow us on the various socials at TrekCulture or at TrekCultureYT on Instagram. And until we see you again, live long and prosper, or else.